On September 11, 2001, at 8:45 a.m. on a clear Tuesday morning, an American Airlines Boeing 767 loaded with 20,000 gallons of jet fuel crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City.
At the moment that the towers were hit, I was working at Robert Fulton Elementary School. It was my first year teaching. And the school that I was at, Robert Fulton, was a kindergarten through 8th grade school, which had about 900 students. And on that day, I was in class. We were just transitioning into the next period when one of my coworkers came in and said, "Did you hear what happened?" Then I went during the transition to this big window at the very top, the 4th floor of the building, and I can see New York Harbor, and I can see the Twin Towers, and I can see one of the towers smoking.
Then, 18 minutes after the first plane hit, a second Boeing 767, United Airlines Flight 175, appeared out of the sky, turned sharply towards the World Trade Center, and sliced into the South Tower near the 60th floor. The collision caused a massive explosion that showered burning debris over surrounding buildings and onto the streets below. It immediately became clear that America was under attack.
My first thought was, my family? Where's my mom and dad? I grew up with the Twin Towers in my backyard. You can see my home from the 110th floor of the World Trade Center, and you can see it.
So the whole day we was trying to get to my sister. The thing is, by the time we got to the bridge, there was like soldiers in the bridge. They were setting up, anti missile thing, and this was a whole drama. The whole day.
It was my first year teaching, and I felt my duty was to stay there at school to make sure that all of the kids get picked up by their family. It was a long day, to say the least. I didn't leave there until about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night to make sure that these children got home with their families.
The destruction would not end with the two planes crashing into the World Trade Center in New York City, though 2,753 perished as a result of this attack. 2 more planes would be hijacked and downed. American Airlines Flight 77 would be taken over and crashed into the Pentagon at 9:45 a.m. 125 military personnel and civilians were killed in the Pentagon, along with all 64 people aboard Flight 77.
I went downstairs to the teacher's room, and as I'm walking down the stairs and I'm coming to the door, I hear one of my coworkers inside the teacher's room yelling, "They did what to the Pentagon?" And at that moment I said, "Oh my God, we're under attack."
United Flight 93 was the last plane hijacked, and at 10:10 a.m., the plane would crash into Western Pennsylvania Field. This plane never reached its intended target. 44 passengers and crew showed heroism and sacrifice as they fought the terrorist hijackers before they could cause more destruction.
I'm sure those people born around or after 2001 have learned about the tragedy that morning, either through their history class at school or through conversations at home. This was the first time the United States had been attacked since Pearl Harbor, October 7th, 1941. If you were born after 2001, you may not understand the impact that the September 11th tragedy had on Americans.
It's been now 20 years that this has happened, and it's still kind of, for me, it's still a fresh wound, and it will always be. For me, like I said, it's home. My home was destroyed as far as I'm concerned, and I still can't get the strength up to actually go to see the new memorial.
Loved ones were tragically lost, and this single event changed the climate in America and catapulted the U.S. into war. Many more lives will be lost in the war on terror.
That was a very, very eye-opening deployment for me. Okay, I mean, lost a few soldiers. All right, lost a few soldiers, and it was a difficult time. I mean, it was a very difficult time.
The economy was also negatively impacted through job loss and high gas prices. Men and women were answering the call of their country by enlisting into the military.
And when I saw the planes crash into the towers, I mean, we were all just rearing to go. I mean, everybody was ready to go. Okay, and from that, I've always remembered, be careful what you ask for. Okay, because probably like a month after that, I was on my way to Iraq.
Americans of all political persuasions were shook to their core, and for a while were united around a common goal.
During the time of September 11th, our commander-in-chief was George W. Bush, and he did an incredible job bringing our country together and showing resilience and leadership and unity. You know, it wasn't, let's target this certain group of people because they were the ones who did this to us. It was, you know, we're all Americans, and we can't target people because of their ethnicity and because these people look like the perpetrators who committed the acts. So I have a great appreciation for him for showing that sort of leadership.
I feel like a lot of kids my age, they know it's a big event, and they know how, I feel like they kind of understand how big it was, but I feel like a lot of them, it's kind of like, oh, it's in the past.
While those individuals born on or after 2001 may not feel the same impact from 9/11, the way New Yorkers or older Americans do, they may have felt similar feelings surrounding a more recent disaster that those alive today have more recently experienced. While it remains to be determined whether the COVID virus was man-made or accidentally released from a lab, the fact is that COVID has similarly affected the lives of Americans and many others around the world.
It took us completely out of our norm. And yeah, it wasn't necessarily a violent act like 9/11, but it was still an impact in everyone's life. I mean, to say from one day to the next, you're no longer coming to school, you got to stay home, and you have to stay there. You're quarantined. You cannot go anywhere else because it's dangerous. I mean, people were even afraid to breathe fresh air outside.
COVID has caused us to lose loved ones. We've lost friends and family. We've all made sacrifices. We've worn masks that restrict breathing and not to mention hide smiles. We've stayed home to flatten the curve. Jobs were lost, and our kids have suffered academically, socially, and emotionally. It can be argued that COVID is this generation's 9/11.
You know, just be appreciative of everything that you have, because you never know what you have until it's gone. So don't wait till the last minute to, you know, tell somebody, hey man, I love you, man.
If you weren't alive for 9/11, think of the tragedy you have all recently faced and honor the previous generation with respect as they revisit and remember the emotions of that day, of the 11th of September, 2001.